since we're talking about old ones, when I started out, I used a funnel, a plastic funnel, and I took a marble and I closed off the hole in the bottom with the marble, and then I added resin and started building it up. See, at this point, I had no idea how to make them pretty. I was just interested in making an orgone generator that worked. And all I knew was take metals, put crystals inside there, and let it harden, and you've got a functional orgone generator. Yeah, I was gifting for 2-3 years before I ever got the idea that maybe I should try to make them pretty and sell them. So yeah, this is one of my originals. I've had people come into the house who are energy sensitive, and some of them went straight to my oldest one. They weren't pretty, but they liked the energy that was coming off. They said, we don't care about aesthetics or pretty. I just feel the energy of this one is really good. I want to buy that one. So I have to ask my friends who are energy sensitive to give me some feedback. When you place crystals into the metal matrix and you use the dome, because a dome, a certain amount, since energy goes in a circle spiral always, it's going to spiral up through the center, okay? But while it's spiraling this way, it's also spiraling the other way from the base. And there's also 360 degrees energy. But when you have this form, a lot of it is directed straight up. But I can't tell you how much is going to the side, how much is going to the bottom. Only somebody who feels the energy can sort of tell you that, because they can feel it. But when you have this kind, and this dome as well, because it doesn't come to a point, there's more energy going out sideways. Anything that comes to a point, because the energy is swirling and it's directed in one direction, it tends to go up through the narrow part. But at the same time, it's radiating in all directions as well. Domes radiate more energy laterally. Well, that's a big crystal, and there's notice there's some baby crystals on the side of that main crystal coming off. So there's more than one crystal attached to that main one in the center. Orgone energy is everywhere in the universe. Wilhelm Reich, who originally did experiments on that, actually was able to capture and photograph that it's a bluish kind of light that is given off. Biophotons, or he called it bio something. And they all laughed at him, because he was the only one doing research into this, so if you're the only one and you're going against the stream, people are going to mock you and make fun of you. But he wasn't worried about that. So orgone is everywhere. But that orgone in our world is affected negatively by nuclear reactors, by the worst are the nuclear reactors. They create deadly orgone. And when they have photographed, when they drive near nuclear reactors, you can see, depending on the weather, it's almost a perceivable cloud of negativity surrounding that, a dullness that's almost visible. So they found if they place some orgone generators around the nuclear reactor, it will help to dissipate this negative, Wilhelm Reich called it deadly orgone. It will dissipate that deadly orgone energy. Orgone by itself, naturally, is a positive, is a good thing. But when it interacts with nuclear reactors and some of our, especially nuclear reactors that give off radiation and concentrates that radiation, it becomes deadly orgone energy. It's not life affirming at all. It goes against that. So he thought, okay, if orgone is everywhere, then how can I concentrate it? So he built orgone accumulators, and he lined them, wooden boxes, big enough so somebody could sit in there on a chair. He lined these wooden boxes with organic material and inorganic material in 2 or 3 or 4 different layers. Organic, inorganic, organic, inorganic. It's like an insulation, and he packed that inside there. And that would attract, and then a person with a health challenge would sit inside, and he would close the door and sit in there for half an hour. So now this organic and inorganic material would attract the orgone energy and concentrate it inside that. It would add up. It would, over time, it would get stronger. And the people who had health challenges, lo and behold, many of them were healed when no other thing helped them. So the word got out that, if you've tried everything else and it didn't work on you, go take a chance. Go over to Wrangell, where Reich had his orgone accumulators, and see if he can help you by sitting in an orgone accumulator. What do you got to lose? So they did, and lo and behold, many of them were helped very substantially. So the word started spreading by word of mouth, and that's how it got out. Well, it got to the point where the FDA and the pharmaceuticals and the health companies were threatened by this new technology, and it was competition to them, and they didn't want anybody to go against the prevailing system of healing, which they believed they only had. Nothing else would work. But people who tried the ordinary medical system and weren't helped, and in fact were getting worse, said, well, I can't go on doing this. This is going to kill me. There's got to be another solution. So try sitting in an orgone accumulator. So they did, and helped, and that's so. Eventually, the FDA charged Wilhelm Reich because one of his underlings, one of his workers, had taken an orgone accumulator and transported it across interstate lines from Maine to New York or somewhere, So they said, we got him. Transportation of a medical device across interstate lines, that's what they charged him with. And that's 2 years less 1 day jail time. So that's how they got Wilhelm Reich. They put him in jail. Even though he didn't himself do it, he had to take the rap for one of his workers who did that. But then they burnt all his books. They closed his lab down. They destroyed the man. And why would you do that? You only do that when you want to destroy the opposition, when you want to destroy a new modality that does not fit your paradigm. You don't want any competition. You will put competition out of business. You cannot cure cancer. If you say you can cure cancer, watch and see what we can do to you. You can't even use the word cure when you say cancer. So cancer can't be cured because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. They don't want it to stop. So what do? They poison you with radiation, with chemotherapy, or they cut you up. That's all you can do with cancer. And if those three don't work, good luck. We've done all we can. You'll just have to go home and settle your affairs and die peacefully. Well, some people don't want to die peacefully. They still want to live. So they look for alternatives. But then you're in no man's land. You have to be very careful who you go to. They stop you at every turn because the powers of the medical community, because they control the government agencies, you haven't got a chance. There are people who are curing themselves, but they keep it very quiet and they don't advertise it. And yes, there are many people alive today because they've used alternative means to heal themselves, and they're out there. So there's deadly orgone energy and there's life-affirming orgone energy, and everything that comes off an orgone generator is life-affirming. You can easily prove that. Animals are attracted to it. Kids automatically are attracted to it. They don't know why, but they're attracted to it. It's the energy. Cats, dogs, plants. If you have a dying plant, put an orgone generator next to the plant. If the plant needs good orgone energy to heal itself, it will heal itself and it will carry on living. New buds will come, new leaves. But if the plant is meant to die, there's nothing you can do. It's like you. Your time is up, you gotta go. The plant has to go. But you should see the testimonials, how many people revived a dying plant by putting an orgone generator next to it. I have my friend in Kelowna, the wife threw out a bunch of plants. She said, oh, they're next to dead. And he took an orgone generator, he took a Dixie cup, put it next to the plants, new shoots coming out, new leaves, and he showed his wife. He said, look, it wasn't meant to die yet, it just needed some good energy. Yeah, this stuff here that we're making now was invented by Don Croft, but there's another fellow, what the heck was his name, who really patented the name Orgone energy.
Really?
Carl Welz.
Carl Welz.
He's not too happy about us building orgone generators the way we do because he thinks that they're not the right way to build them. Well, Don Croft talked to Carl Welz, and he found him very uncooperative because he knew that Don Croft wanted to experiment building these things, and Carl Welz got the idea that he was going to depart from what Carl Welz said they should be built according to his way. He's got the only way that's the proper way to build orgone generators. Well, there's no man has has priority. There's not one way to build an orgone generator. There's many different ways. So Don Croft left him, and he wasn't too happy with Carl Welz. And then suddenly people started building, who were listening to Don Croft, building orgone generators. That's how I started. I got on the phone and I talked to Don Croft. I'm reading that you're making these things and you're going out and distributing them, and the feds are after you for doing this. Somebody doesn't want you building these things, and obviously you're doing something that is interfering with the interests of the government. So you must be doing something right if they're after you, because you only get the flack when you're over the target. I took that as good advice and I said, oh, okay, I'll do my bit. I'll build my own orgone generators, and I'll go and I'll bury them next to cell phone towers, and that'll be my bit, positive bit to help the planet and the environment. So I was doing that for 2-3 years, and it was starting to cost me money, and then I decided, it occurred to me, well, why don't you make them pretty? Learn how to make them pretty so that people can have them in their homes and get the benefits, and the pets and the plants get the benefit of having this good energy in their living environment. So then I taught myself, and I'm still learning, how to keep making them differently, and I don't know about better, but certainly more aesthetically pleasing, and trying all sorts of things. So there's no end to making these in different shapes and sizes, and that's the fun of it. So yeah, that's how I got started, from Don Croft. And boy, the feds were after him, and he was building all kinds of anti-government devices. They would beam him electronically with stuff. They're trying to drive him crazy. So he would build exotic orgone generators that would zap the feds. they knew that they were being zapped by him as well. So they just, since they have more money and more more guys to go after him, they made his life miserable. They never stopped, but he was a fighter.